I'm Sarah.
And I'm Cole.
You're listening to Borrowed Bones, a family podcast. Today we are going to dive right into part 2 of the Galvin family.
Yes.
I wanted to get right into it.
All right. We need to do a little recap of where we left off.
The first part we ended with Mary heading off to boarding school. She started her 8th grade year there.
Is Mary the youngest of the two girls or the older of the two girls?
She is the youngest.
Okay.
She's number 12.
Okay.
Yep, she's in boarding school in Connecticut.
And it was number 11 who got kind of unofficially adopted by another family, right?
Yes.
That just like, oh, we'll just take her in.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret was the one that went with the Gary family after Nancy, Gary, and Mimi were talking about it around Christmas time. Donald, the oldest brother, and Jim, the second oldest, they're generally not really doing very well at this moment, kind of in and out of hospitals, medication. Jim is abusive toward his wife. He is not a good big brother, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, there was some diddling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Isn't one of the brothers, at this point in our story, isn't one of them deceased?
Yes, Brian, the California rock star.
He killed his girlfriend and then himself?
Yep, it was a murder-suicide.
Okay.
Yes, when he was out in California. And then Don, the dad, he did have a stroke.
Okay.
All right, now that we're caught up, let's get into it.
All right, here we go. Round 2.
We are going to follow Mary into boarding school right now. She was very eager, very happy to get out of her home. She did not feel safe at her house. She did not like Hidden Valley Road.
How could she? How could anyone?
Exactly. Much like in part 1, another trigger warning, we already kind of talked about it earlier. There is sexual assault in this part as well, along with general violence and abuse.
There should be just a general trigger warning for this podcast.
Yeah. When Mary was around 12 or 13, she stayed at her brother Jim's house. She was asleep, and he entered her room one night as he had done times before. Now, when he was starting with Margaret, remember that as she got older, she was able to fight him off, and he then turned to Mary, but he did stop with Margaret once she fought back.
That's pretty typical.
With Mary, he would do the same thing. He would use his fingers to penetrate her, and nothing else would happen after that. However, this one night, it was different. He did try to penetrate her with his penis, and she tried to fight him off. However, unlike with Margaret, where he walked away, this time it seemed to embolden him a little bit more. And he went through with it. He raped his little sister that night.
And you said she was 12 or 13?
She never told her parents or anyone until she was in college. And what really struck me when learning about Mary's story was that in this moment, she thought, I don't want to be pregnant. She had just become a woman, I guess a PC way to say it. She started her period. I'm just going to say it. And so she was nervous and scared that she was going to have her brother's kid. Now, she was not. That did not happen.
She's forward thinking to even consider that.
To even have to think of that at that age is ridiculous.
Adults who don't consider that, they seemingly don't know how babies are made still.
Right. And then, unfortunately, there was also another time when Mary was still in the early middle school age. She was at her friend's house, and her friend's older brother was home, and her friend's older brother had his friends over. They started drinking, and I don't know where Mary's friend went, but she was not anywhere around, and so Mary was alone with the boys.
And these are like older teenagers, I'm guessing?
Right, yeah.
Okay, like upper high school, probably.
I don't know the exact age, but yes, older. Yep.
Not like in their 30s, but like in their late teens, early 20s.
Teens, yep. Not that it makes it better.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to...
Yes.
I ask a lot of detailed questions. I want to get a visual, not... You know what I mean?
Yes, reporter.
Yeah.
Yes, that's coming out. All of the boys and Mary went into a closet. and I don't know the exact details, but she was sexually assaulted
Okay.
while in there. Again, she did not tell anyone until she got older. I mean, she probably didn't know if it would matter, given that both of the girls were handled in ways that weren't normal, that they have said looking back on, and the mom and dad never stepped in.
Yeah.
So why now would it
Yeah, they don't have a
matter?
good track record. Defending their image seems to have been of more primary concern than actually defending their children from each other.
Right. I think a lot of it too is they were clouded by what was happening with the mental illness of it all. That was the overarching umbrella of everything, and it's like, well, everything is back to this one thing, and they're all symptoms of mental illness, but you still need to be held accountable for the way you handle your mental illness, at least to an extent.
Yeah.
I myself struggle with mental illness, and I have feral moments where I kind of just go off the leash a little bit, and I have moments where I don't realize why I did what I did or said what I said, and then I come out of it and I go, wow, that was a lot, huh?
Yes.
Not
No
supposed to
comment.
agree. That is just to give a background of Mary's life at home, and that's a really big factor into why she wanted to leave and go to boarding school, and just overall it was not a safe home, and luckily Margaret got out of it, and this was Mary's way of getting out of it. When Mary started boarding school, she decided that she wanted to change her name. Her boarding school was in Connecticut, which is a bit waspier than where she's from.
Yeah.
And her name is Mary Elizabeth. Very Catholic.
They didn't really dive deep for any of the names in this family, didn't they?
They dove into the Bible.
There's no even cool ones like Zechariah or Malach. They're all just
Vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, very vanilla.
Yeah. They're all New Testament names.
Well, Mary changed her name to Lindsay. She still goes by Lindsay today. From here on out, I will call her Lindsay.
Okay.
Sometimes she's seen as Lindsay Mary. She'll take that as her second name, but she is first name Lindsay.
Does this apply to the last name too? Does she take a new last name with this, or this is just a first name thing right now?
It's just her first name. Okay. She still keeps Galvin. She'll be Lindsay Mary Galvin, and I think she's married now, and she just has all the names.
Okay.
Yeah. In 1984, Lindsay graduated from her boarding school at the top of her class. She went on to attend the University of Colorado in Boulder, where she began therapy, and this is when she opened up about her brother Jim. Like I said before, Lindsay never told anyone about it, not even her sister. Her and her sister Margaret
they were both molested. They never tell each other.
No. They didn't have the closest relationship because when Margaret left, Mary felt very abandoned, and she was so young then that it's hard for them to reconcile. So now they're 19, 20, starting to really look inward and try self-healing. When Lindsay was away at college, she would visit home like any college student would. And when she would visit, Jim would also be there. And while Lindsay was in college in these early years, Jim was worse than ever. His wife, Kathy, did finally leave him.
Yeah, she was gone for...
that I think you're thinking of Jean.
Oh.
Early on, Jean left.
Okay, that's right.
In part one.
Yeah.
Left Donald.
Yeah.
But Kathy was being abused by Jim, but she stayed because her son Jimmy never felt the abuse. So she thought, I'll stay for my son, for the kids. His wife ended up leaving him, though, because eventually, guess what? Jimmy was beaten by Jim.
Could have predicted that.
Exactly.
Was it everyone?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, the obvious happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim's not a good guy. And I know that schizophrenia is in there, but sometimes it's very difficult to save someone. He needs to meet halfway, and he clearly was not. So good for Kathy for finally leaving. Sad that Jimmy had to feel it in order for Kathy to leave. She does leave, and she sticks to it.
Okay.
Yes.
Exit.
Yep, she finally did it. Now, Lindsay, with all the visits home and seeing Jim, she finally did tell her mom after therapy and getting enough confidence and learning that this is something she needs to say. Mimi kind of defended her son.
Oh.
Yeah. She was pointing to the mental illness.
Again, everything obvious you expect would happen. Yeah, that's what happens in people.
Yes. She told Lindsay that it wasn't entirely his fault.
What was she wearing at 13 around her brother in bed?
Right. But Lindsay, she knew that her mom was wrong. She knew that there was no excuse for why Jim raped her. After that, after Mimi didn't take sides but defended Jim, Lindsay refused to go home if Jim was going to be there. She would visit her mom and dad, but needed Jim to stay away.
I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Mary's great.
Why?
Mary has a heart of gold.
I mean, at a certain point, you become an accessory after the fact, in my mind. And why you wouldn't hang out with the guy that held you down while the other guy raped you, so long as the actual rapist wasn't around? Like, why do you draw the line? Like,
exactly.
The weird logical loopholes. People are like, well, that person's fine. But what?
Yes. There's a lot of levels there. After Lindsay refused to be home if Jim was there, there was one time during one of her visits that Jim did show up unannounced. No one knew. Mimi didn't know. Don was there, the dad, and he told Jim to leave, and Jim refused. And then that's when Lindsay yelled at Jim and said, "You fucking asshole, you raped me."
Oh, did the dad even know at this point?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think he knew.
Okay.
Or maybe he didn't know the extent of it, or
maybe he might have told him something.
Right. But at this point, Don for sure knew, and he kicked Jim out and told him he never wanted to see Jim again. Don didn't hesitate. He said, "Nope, I'm done."
She should have told her dad first, not the mom.
Exactly. Jim drove away, and I don't think he ever went back to the house, at least not when Don or Lindsay were there. Mimi did keep a line of communication open with Jim.
Never understand it. Especially in this case when you've got so many others to pick from. Like, I mean, cut 1, 2, 3, cut 4 of them loose. What does it matter? You got 8 more. Like, you're going to have some bad ones regardless. I mean, if you have 12 kids, the odds are at least one's going to be a rapist, if not a killer. Like, at least one's going to, statistically.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you would at least not side with them when they do show that dark of colors. Like, when it is something that's out of your control, where you need professional help, when you maybe should call the police.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. When it's tough to be a parent, you have to make a decision of morality versus parenthood. Because being a parent is not moral.
Yeah.
Like, only in it. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I agree
you don't
with
have to be a moral person to be a parent.
Yeah.
I would hope that every parent is moral. Anyway, let's see what the other brothers are up to now. Donald being the oldest. At this point, Donald has been out of Pueblo Hospital for 7 years. Remember, Pueblo is the main hospital the brothers are going to. It's the closest to them at Hidden Valley. He's been out of it for 7 years. He's doing well. He is still living at home. He's getting a little bit older. He's out of shape a bit. He's no longer going on long walks. He became a bit of a hermit. He did try to live in boarding houses, but he was never able to stay very long. In the winter of 1986, Donald is now 41. He was admitted to Pueblo Hospital for the 8th time.
What year was that?
1986.
86. Okay.
Donald was preaching from the Bible, and he said that the Lithuanians were on the hunt for him.
So,
yeah.
The only crazy half of that is the Lithuanian part. The first part is like a whole career that you don't have to be crazy for.
Well, preaching in random places and yelling.
Feeling the spirit, feeling the movement.
Right. Not in an organized manner.
Yeah, because the Holy Spirit's very organized.
Yes. However, whenever Donald would get back on his medication, he'd be doing fine. So he's kind of still in that yo-yo pattern of on-off, on-off. And in 1990, a few years later...
He's 45.
45. He was still living with his parents. He heard that Peter, now 30 years old, that Peter was going to move back home.
Peter was what, number 4 or 5
Number 10.
Oh, and he was he was the last boy.
Yeah.
Okay. I was way off.
Yes. Yeah, 30 and 45, that's 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Donald was not happy that Peter was coming back. He thought that Peter was going to take his room. In order to prevent this, Donald called the Air Force and the Army, asking to station him in Greenland.
Oh.
What is up with Greenland? Why do Americans think of that? Or, I don't... Moving on.
Yeah.
So what's up with Peter? We're going to jump back a little bit with his timeline. We're going to go to him being 25 years old.
Okay.
He was found praying in the street in Colorado Springs. The police took him to the state hospital, and he told a policeman that he would rip out his, I don't really know how to pronounce this, it's science, carotid artery?
Carotid.
Yeah. Yes. Carotid artery.
Yes. It's one of the big ones.
Yeah. It's in your throat.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling a policeman he's going to rip into his throat and pull out an artery.
Yeah. It's analogous to the jugular vein.
Super fun. Peter was taken to Pueblo Hospital where he
Cottage industry, that Pueblo Hospital.
Yeah. Peter was able to escape 4 times in 4 days.
So this is minimum security?
I don't know what's going on.
This
Peter,
is the honor system?
I think Peter, I like Peter. I like him. I think he's a great guy. He, unfortunately, though, he did believe that he was crucified and resurrected and covered in Christ's blood.
How do we know he wasn't?
I don't know. Well, I don't know if he thought that he was currently in Christ's blood or in the past in Christ's blood.
Mm.
But yes, he did believe he was crucified and resurrected.
Okay.
Now, Peter was aware that he did have a disease. He knew it, and he said the medicine helped him not get hyper. When he didn't take his medication, he said that his blood would pump really fast.
Okay.
I don't know how common this is in other mental illnesses, but I know with schizophrenia, I know a few people that have it, and I follow a TikToker that she's hilarious that has it. And the people that I know are aware that it's there, and they'll kind of catch themselves ever so often being like, oh, that was kind of a weird thing to say, wasn't it? Or like, I didn't hear that, did I? And it feels like Peter is sort of that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I like him. And if you're interested in following the TikToker, she's really funny. Her name is Kendall. Her TikTok name is Kendall Culpepper.
You have to spell that.
Kendall with a Y.
Not where you think. Trademark. We're going to get sued by Marvel Disney.
Right.
Now.
So I'll spell it really quickly, but I'm sure you could just search it in TikTok and it would come up. KENDYL _ CULPEPPER. She's really funny. She'll talk about her experiences with it, and then her partner, he also has it as well, has different symptoms and different experiences, and I just think they're a really great way to show the struggles of it while still putting a comedic spin on it.
Yeah.
Go check her out. She's great. Now, another symptom, not really symptom, but result of mental illness and schizophrenia is suicidal ideation, which Peter also had. He said that he wanted to swallow a knife. One time he did take an entire bottle of lithium, which is not very good.
Entire bottle of anything isn't.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Ibuprofen, that's not good. When he was asked by his therapist and doctors if he was sexually abused, Peter did say that he had been by his brother as a child, but he would not say who.
Which brother?
He wouldn't say. Right. Again, he's number 10.
Yeah. So it could have been any of them.
In 1991, Peter shoplifted cigarettes from a 7-Eleven.
How do you shoplift cigarettes? They're behind the counter.
Yeah. Right.
Someone has to hand them to you.
Yeah. I don't know if he grabbed them quickly and then turned to run away. And then when they chased him, he didn't move. He stopped. So somehow he fled and stopped.
Yeah.
When the officers arrived, they asked
made him smoke the whole pack.
Yeah. Sit here. He's like in his 30s at this point. He's not a child. When officers arrived, they asked him when his birthday was, standard ID information.
Every year.
And he said 1851. He then tried to run away from the officers, and when that failed, he punched an officer in the face, and then that got him in jail on second-degree assault.
Yeah.
Lindsay, Mary, she visited Peter while he was in jail, and she wanted to help him out. Lindsay is now 26, and the court moved Peter to Pueblo State Hospital, where they recommended that Peter be deemed incompetent. He would have no criminal charges placed against him, and Lindsay then took Peter home to live with her at her apartment in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
Lindsay did become Peter's caretaker, and she took over his benefit checks. She would arrange his therapy and just helped him out in daily life in general.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they were doing a great thing. Peter was doing well. He was going to therapy regularly. He was taking his medication, doing so well, in fact, that he felt like he didn't need to take his medicine anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a common theme.
Yeah.
It's something I've done.
But
You've
like
seen
the doctors don't tell you it's going to, like, once you take enough of this, you're cured. It's not like an antibiotic that like take to the bottle's done. Like they tell you it just treats, right?
Right. I guess for me, I can only speak on my experience having done this before multiple times. And you think that you understand what quote unquote normal feels like. And so you think you can recreate that in your head without the medication. You just think you can. That's it. That's where I stop anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So he felt like he no longer needed to take his medication, and he reverted back to weed and alcohol for self-medication. Again, a place I've been. So
the OGs.
Yeah. Not good to yo-yo. Not good. Done it. We've all been there. Don't do it. If you haven't been there, don't do it. But when Peter did revert back to weed and alcohol, he would go to the mall all day, almost every day, and he would sit on the street and play his recorder.
Recorder, like the plastic flute thing you get?
Like a musical instrument.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not like a tape recorder, like the worst instrument that everyone gets when they're 5.
Yes.
Okay.
The ones that all parents love, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He met other street people and brought them over to Lindsay's apartment without her knowledge.
Ooh.
They ended up having a party, and Lindsay did have to get the authorities involved to clear that one up.
Oh.
Peter was then admitted to Fort Logan Hospital.
No, not back to Pueblo?
Right.
That revolving door?
That one was closer to where Lindsay lived.
Oh, okay.
That's why. I'm pretty sure anyway. And by 1994, Peter returned to Hidden Valley Road. Lindsay was no longer Peter's caretaker, and he was now considered a ward of the state. I'm not really sure Peter's timeline of living at home. It seems like he bounced in and out, because I know he lived at home with Donald in like 1990, and then Lindsay grabbed him for a year or two. He's been ping-ponging quite a bit. Fast forward to 2004.
Okay.
Peter is now 43 years old, and he was convinced that President George W. Bush was bombing the Broadmoor Hotel in downtown Colorado Springs.
That's one of the few places he didn't bomb, actually, for the record.
Now, this led to his 25th admission to Pueblo State Hospital.
God, you get a punch card?
Yeah. Peter was now becoming more unruly and aggressive. He would lunge at the staff and yell, "Pussy, bastard," and other things.
Pussy loop?
I
For
don't.
Righteous Gemstones fans out there?
If you're up to date on it, we're very current on it.
Oh, spoiler, they say the word pussy at some point in the current season of Righteous Gemstones.
They chant it, and it's hilarious. Peter would also yell other things at the staffers, like, "Don't come near me with that medication, you bitch," and he would threaten to kill them. He began preaching and saying, "I am Moses, you will burn in hell." He was a lot to handle. The staff isolated him and placed restraints on him. He was on 8 different medications, and none of them seemed to work. A few months later, we're still in 2004. A few months later, the doctors prescribed electroconvulsive therapy, also known as ECT.
Mm-hmm.
Some might know it best as electroshock therapy, but ECT.
Studies show it's effective.
Yeah. They started by giving him ECT treatment just once a week. They quickly upped it to 3 times a week, and then they went down to twice a week, And by May of 2005, he was deemed symptom-free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all we are is electrical neurons firing. So maybe it just needs to realign your electrodes, so to speak.
However, the following year, in June of 2006, he was back at Pueblo claiming that he had a restoration of the spirit. He refused to eat. He thought his food was poisoned. He said he could talk to Jesus and that the devil was after him. He went back to ECT treatments after this. Now we're fast forwarding again to 2015.
Oh, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Peter was able to move to an assisted living facility. He had been in and out of hospital wards for a while. He was the youngest resident at his assisted living home. He was 55 when he moved in. He needed to keep to his schedule. He needed to be very regimented. His smoke breaks were at the same time every day. He played his recorder at the same time every day. He has everything that he likes to do. At the assisted living facility, Peter was favored by the staff. And the hospital staff really liked him as well. He was doing great on his weekly ECT treatment, so he was sticking with it.
To kill the staff?
Well, they said that he was sweet and kind when he didn't think that they were working for Satan.
Oh.
I think overall he was just more docile, but maybe he was grumpy on certain days and, things like that. But nothing as aggressive and violent anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. October 17th, 2023. Peter passed away peacefully in his sleep. He was 62 years old, almost 63. And there's a website that Lindsay, has kept up with, and it is called the Galvin Family Trust. And on the website, she talks about Peter and has great photos and of other brothers as well. She said that Peter was a great fan of the Beatles, I know we were just listening to the Beatles, and he enjoyed playing his recorder for others, and he loved being with his brother Matt and the rest of his family. As doctors and family members look back on it now, they now believe that Peter was not schizophrenic and that he had bipolar disorder.
Oh.
Back then, it was hard schizophrenia was still somewhat not new, but not really well researched or looked at.
Plus, I mean, terminology is changing all the time. Like, it's more of an art than not to offend anyone, but it's, the soft science. Invent the terminology, paint with broad strokes. No two people are ever identical.
Right. There's realness to it, but I think the soft part of the soft science comes from the humanity side of it. Like, we are people and we're constantly changing. Like you said, we're electricity, we're just these little neurons firing, and you can rewire your brain. Drugs can rewire it. Positive thinking, smiling. It's weird to say, but certain chemical reactions, if you do them enough, can rewire your brain. I think that's why it's soft. It's more of a fluid science.
And
I would prefer to call it that. It's always moving and flowing as humans are.
And you can't really replicate. You can't test it, really, because of ethical concerns. You can't try to induce schizophrenia.
Yeah, you can't do that. Now, Matt, the 9th child, we didn't talk about him too much in the first part. He is also one of the brothers that had schizophrenia as well. I'm going to give you a few little highlights. One story about Matt is in 1978. Matt and Peter got into a huge fight, and Lindsay was there, and she had to call the police. She had to hide. She locked herself in the master bedroom, and that's when Matt was trying to break down the door to get to Lindsay.
Did he have a weapon? Was he like Shining style with
his
an axe?
body?
Or,
just his body trying to break it down. Aggression, anger.
Yeah.
When the police came, he was still hitting at the door, and they took Matt away. This was Matt's first admission into Pueblo Hospital.
Into the Galvin suite?
Yeah.
The wing?
Yeah. Now, another story was when Matt was a teenager. He really enjoyed pottery, and he one time made a vase, and he wanted to go over to the family friend's house, the Garys, to show them the vase that he made.
Yeah, the vase.
The vase. While he was waiting in the living room, he ripped off his clothes and smashed the vase.
I get impatient too.
Yeah, I guess so. After this, he was admitted to Colorado University Medical Center. As he got older, he was able to live independently, but had to be in Section 8 housing, and he still struggled. He was taking medication, but he was selling his medication, so he wasn't really as consistent as he should have been. Eventually, they did find a medication that worked for him. He still didn't believe that he needed the medicine, but he still took it.
Believe whatever you want, just take it.
Right. He still complied.
Yeah.
He was more docile. He did say that all of the earthquakes, massacres, and plane crashes would stop if he could stop taking his medicine.
Did we try that?
There are still quite a bit of plane crashes.
Yeah. More than ever.
Yeah.
Well, not ever, but more of late than...
It seems like a lot. I don't know. I'm not looking at the stats.
There's not going to be stats anymore. What are you
Exactly,
talking about?
right.
Where are you going to get the stats from? The government agencies that have been demolished?
God. Okay. He believed the more medication he took, the more likely he would end up dead.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, medicine's kind of a
the more you
double-edged
take of
sword.
anything,
Yeah. He did also believe that he was a prophet, saying, "I am the prophet you heard so much about."
How do you tell the real prophets from the fake ones? Is always the question I've wondered.
I'm not sure.
Like,
I've never met a prophet. As Matt's schizophrenia progressed, he became more and more convinced that he was Paul McCartney.
because Paul was dead. You know that old Beatles myth that Paul died in a car crash in like 1963 or whatever, and that they got a body double that had plastic surgery done, and it's been since like Sgt. Pepper on through today. It's some...
Why do they think that? Did the music change too much for the fans and they had to make a theory? Or
I don't know exactly where it started from. I think there was a report that he was in a car crash.
Okay.
That happened, I believe.
Okay.
And then
that
he died, and then maybe there was some initial reports that he did or something.
Interesting.
And yeah, and there's the conspiracy theorists say you can hear references in the lyrics.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, Paul McCartney's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 2020, Matt was hospitalized for a few months, and then he transitioned into a nursing facility. So he was no longer able to live independently and had to live in a nursing home.
Okay.
He is still alive today. On the Galvin Family Trust website, there are pictures of Matt as well. Some of him with a flute that he likes to play, and some are with his guitar. Others are in a hot tub.
In a hot tub?
In a hot tub. Others are in a hot tub.
Arms, hot tub.
And he's got quite a few pictures of him with his brothers. He looks really sweet and happy. Everyone should visit the Galvin Family Trust website. It's great. I'm going to link it, but just go to it. Now let's talk about Joe, the seventh brother.
What happened to number 8? Did we skip him?
We're jumping around. I'm going to talk about all of them. I'm just out of order. So let's talk about Joe, the seventh brother. Now, Joe was also someone who knew that he was ill. He thought that he lived in China in a past life. If he thought that the Chinese emperor was talking to him from his previous life, he would say something like, "Oh, I'm having a hallucination." He would respond and know that the past life wasn't real, but also he would hear it and see it. And yeah. Joe also got into quite a bit of credit card debt. Joe once bought a credit card because it had the team, the Broncos logo on it, and he thought that he needed a credit card with the Broncos logo on it. Joe was a little more, I didn't see a lot of aggression in his life, but just kind of...
the aimlessness.
Easy to take advantage of. Yeah. Very sweet, though. Yes, naive. Joe always wanted a strong connection with his family. He would send birthday cards to them, and he did help Michael's daughter buy books for school one time when she was in college. He sent her $500. He does things a lot to try and stay connected as best that he can. In December of 2009, Joe was talking to his mom, Mimi, and he told her that his feet were numb and he couldn't walk. And it was too snowy for Mimi to drive, so she told Joe that she would see him in the morning.
This is in 2009?
Yeah.
How old is Mimi now?
Well, now I have to do the math.
Oh, okay. You said she was born in 1924?
Yeah. It's 2009.
Oh, yeah, she's 85. All right. So Mimi's son says his feet are numb.
And I think he was going to walk over to her house. I'm not sure what the conversation was, but he told her that his feet were numb and he could not walk.
Okay.
They were on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And it was too snowy for Mimi to drive, so she told Joe that she would just see him in the morning. By the next morning, Joe had passed away. He was alone at the age of 53, and he died from heart failure.
Heart failure is like the fancy way of saying we don't really know. Or not. There probably wasn't an autopsy done.
This was connected to the medicine he was taking. And that's really another sad angle to all of this, is that the medication that helped him survive this world ends up taking him from this world. And I don't know. It's not okay. Now we're going to move on to Jim.
Okay.
We're going to go all the way back to Lindsay's blow up at the house of saying,
yeah, she called him a rapist in front of their parents. Yeah.
After the blow up, Jim was now living on his own. Kathy left him. Jimmy is no longer in his life. Like, he's not even getting parental visits. Kathy's gone. Jim was now a little bit heavier, weaker, still paranoid. Like I said earlier, Mimi never stopped visiting or communicating with him. In 2001, Jim was in and out of the hospital complaining of headaches and tingling in his extremities. The hospital staff kept sending him home, and they thought nothing of it. They just dismissed him. On March 2nd, 2001, Jim Galvin died alone in his apartment in Colorado Springs at the age of 53, the same age that his brother died. Jim died before him in 2001.
Okay.
His brother died in 2009. But the cause of death was also heart failure.
The prescription medications contributed to his body shutting down, essentially.
It's called neuroleptic malignant syndrome.
Okay.
It's a disorder brought on by the medication that is meant to help.
Okay. According to what I just looked up, it's usually resulting from a reaction to antipsychotic and major tranquilizers. Symptoms include confusion, variable blood pressure, sweating, accelerated heart rate. It is treatable, and most people make a full recovery if found early.
Oh, wow. So they could have had help if the doctors listened to them.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that much about it.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So, yeah, had they been seen a day or two earlier, maybe they would have been.
I'm not sure if
a day or two. But
yes.
Yeah. It might need much more notification than that.
Now we're going to jump to John, who is the third brother. He does not have schizophrenia. He married Nancy and they moved to Boise. If you remember, he was a music teacher. Wife is also a music teacher. John really did not like visiting home. He visited once with Nancy and they had their son with them. And they left their son home with Mimi and some of the other brothers to babysit.
Oh, God.
Upon arriving home, John and Nancy see the police at the house. They go inside and Mimi had locked herself in the closet with the younger kids, like with their kid.
Yeah.
And the brothers were out fighting, just running around the house fighting. And these are like adult brothers.
Yeah.
John and Nancy never stayed the night at Hidden Valley again.
Good.
They're both still alive. I don't know much about them. I didn't look deeply to find where they are because they deserve privacy. Let them live their life. Now, Michael, the fifth brother, who also is not schizophrenic, he's just the hippie.
Mm-hmm.
He lived on the farm that, commune.
Oh, yeah, the communal
living
space.
He ended up living in Manitou Springs. It is was at least, a hippie-friendly town near Colorado Springs. That's where he found his space.
Isn't all of Colorado hippie-friendly? The first state to legalize
Depends
weed.
On where you're from,
first state to legalize shrooms. Like
Michael was married at one point, and then he has since had a divorce, and he had 2 daughters from that marriage. Michael has since passed away. I could not find how or the year. I don't know. He's a hippie. I think that's kind of...
Yeah. Do some mystery.
Mm-hmm. Richard, the 6th son, also not schizophrenic. He always wondered, though, throughout his life if he was going to get the family sickness.
Mm-hmm.
He struggled a bit through life. He became a teenage dad.
Oh.
And of course, he got married while he was still a teenager. They did end up in divorce. and Richard gave most of the custody to the mother. He did fall into cocaine. He would play piano jazz gigs, and he avoided being home. So yeah, he was kind of in a different lifestyle.
Cool.
Piano, jazz, cocaine, just kind of floating around. At one point, he did file for bankruptcy in the early 80s. That's really the worst thing I could find about him. And he has since passed away as well. I don't know how or when.
Okay.
Mark, the 8th son, also not schizophrenic, he was considered the peacemaker of the family. He was very smart. He was able to beat his older brothers at chess when he was only 10. He married and had 3 kids. Then he got divorced, and then he got remarried. Pretty typical stuff. He worked at the University of Colorado bookstore, and he just lived a simple life. And from what I saw, he was still alive today.
All right.
Yeah. Now, this one intertwines Mimi and Donald, because they never really stopped living together. Donald,
or the eldest
son.
Okay,
the oldest son.
Yeah.
When Donald was older, living at home, he told Mimi that he was also sexually abused by a family friend when he was younger. He did tell Mimi who it was. It was the priest that used to come by quite a bit. Yeah.
Again,
I know, I held on to that one.
Everything you think's going to happen, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. When Donald told Mimi who it was, the family priest that used to come over and help when Don, the dad, was in his early military career, so he was traveling a lot, Mimi believed him immediately and wondered how many of her sons fell victim to these religious predators.
So when the boy says he's been abused, she believes it. When the daughter says she's abused, well, you got to hear his side too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Interesting, Mimi.
She even
Screaming
renounced.
Mimi.
She renounced Catholicism because of this. Yeah. The very religion that she needed to be accepted by and what she worked so hard to be a part of. And now all of a sudden.
Yeah. You were scammed.
A real Catholic doesn't renounce Catholicism based on one story.
Yeah.
I mean, at least she did finally say no to it. At least at some point, she didn't like die on her deathbed being like, no, so I mean, there's that. I do need to say that much. But yeah, like you said, what about her daughter?
That's kind of
like
the
that?
opposite. That's like the inverse of, the horrible serial killer who on his deathbed gets to say, I believe in Jesus, and then goes to heaven. It's like the inverse of that, of like, you've done all the damage you can do as a Catholic. And then at the end, you're like, I don't want to be that anymore.
Yeah, it's too late.
So whoop-de-doo.
So I'm just going to put here real quick. In the background, Don, the dad, did get cancer. He passed away in 2003. He was 78 years old at the time.
Right.
For a long time, it was just Donald and Mimi living together. In 2017, jumping forward quite a bit, Mimi now was not doing very well. She did have a stroke in 2017. Lindsay went to visit Mimi at the Hidden Valley Road home after the stroke.
Why?
Lindsay never left Mimi's side. Mimi was bedridden at this point. Lindsay's a good person. That's all I can think of. I'm not going to judge people who just do good things. I'm not. When the hospice nurse told Lindsay to give Mimi morphine, it took a few hours for the pain to subside. The morphine didn't kick in very quickly. Mimi had a seizure. As she was having the seizure, Mimi held on to Lindsay and said, I'm going now. I'm going now. And then she lost consciousness. And she was like that for 3 days, and she passed away on July 17th, 2017. She was 92 years old.
She had a run.
Yeah.
92. Oh.
I don't think Donald was living with her up into her being 92.
I was going to ask, I mean, even...
I know he lived with her for a very long time.
Like, was there any plans for him, like, eventually, the parents are going to die eventually?
He might have lived with her until she had the stroke. That might have been the catalyst that got him to move out.
Okay.
I know he lived there for a very long time. And after she was unable to physically care for him or herself anymore, once she needed a caregiver, was when he needed to find assisted living. So Donald did move into an assisted living facility. At the very least, by 2017, he was in there. As he got older, he became more quiet and reserved. He did enjoy car rides. He also enjoyed a McDonald's Filet-O-Fish sandwich. He enjoyed the ballet, opera, symphony, and theater. All of this is on the Galvin Family Trust website.
Interesting.
Yeah, he really liked the arts quite a bit. He had a complex brain.
It's the only thing worth living for is the arts.
Mm-hmm. Donald very recently passed away this past January of 2025.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm. I think he was 80. He was born in 45.
Yeah.
So he was either 79 or 80, depending on his
when
birthday.
his birthday fell. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Margaret, the second to last child, the oldest daughter.
Penultimate kid.
Yeah. She was out with the Gary family, and she stayed out. She went on to college after the Garys took her in. Margaret and Lindsay, they did have a little bit of a splinter in their relationship, but as they got older, they both went into therapy, and they both have circled back to each other. And from what I can gather, they have a good relationship now. Margaret is now Margaret Galvin Johnson. She's married, and she is a successful artist in Boulder, Colorado. She rediscovered art after starting therapy, and she realized how healing the art is for her soul.
What kind of art? Like what medium?
It's a few different ones.
Sculpting.
I didn't see all of it. She has her own website, which I'm going to plug, and she does sell her artwork. I saw more paintings and anything different, and some photography.
Okay.
I don't know if she does anything beyond that, but check out her website. It is artworkarchive.com. Now, the book that I read, Hidden Valley Road by Robert Kolker, he took a lot of her personal writings that she wrote about her family as she was older and learning how to heal and process all of this. She really helped with the book, Hidden Valley Road. I wondered how they got so many great stories when I was reading the book of like household moments. And I was like, how does he know all this stuff? Oh, someone was writing it down. Margaret. And like I said, her website is called artworkarchive.com, and I will link that in the show notes. Just look into her. She's fantastic. Now, in 2018, a year after Mimi passes away, the Galvin family sells the house on Hidden Valley Road. Lindsay went to Pueblo State Hospital one last time while she was in the area to gather any medical records about her family that they might not have. Now, that's when she discovered everything that Mimi and Don were keeping from her.
They weren't their parents in the first place, were they?
No, they were. There's a story that Donald thought that he's from an octopus.
Kidnapped from different parents.
Yeah. Donald thought he was from an octopus.
It's our Beatles connection.
Yeah. Now, she didn't know that Donald tried to commit a murder-suicide when he was in college. Lindsay did not know that Donald tried to kill himself when he was 12. She also discovered that her dad, Don, was undergoing ECT treatment as well for his depression ever since the 90s. So basically, ever since Peter was doing ECT, Don, the dad, was undergoing treatment as well for his depression.
In the 90s?
Yeah.
You'd have been old by then.
He started in the 90s, yeah.
I feel like when you're old, you're going to just be depressed.
He was in war and things. Who knows what he was battling?
Oh, that's true.
He saw some stuff that he didn't talk about, I'm sure. Now, Lindsay, the youngest, Lindsay Mary, as an adult, helps her brothers and her family when she can, as much as she can. And as she's gotten older, that help has only extended to the community and beyond. She also has her own website called lindsaymarygalvin.com. And through that, she has linked other programs and other boards that she's involved in. Just to name a few, she is involved in the board of Henry Amador Center on, I don't know how to say this word. You need to say it.
Let me see. It's a new word to me.
Do a Google.
Wait a second.
Anosognosia.
I knew it was jo. Like a jo.
Anosognosia.
One more time.
Anosognosia.
Anosognosia is the lack of awareness or insight into one's own mental health condition. She also serves on the board of WellPower and has partnered with Bristol Myers Squibb, a pharmaceutical company. And I looked them up real quick, and they do have a mission statement for innovative science careers to be good-hearted, moral people and just to help the world kind of stuff.
This is why I don't, one of my pet peeves is mission statements, because they're always self-evident and just flowery bullshit of nothing.
Lindsay got married to her husband, Rick, and they had a daughter and a son. Her daughter looks just like her, and when she was younger, acted just like Lindsay as well. This scared Lindsay because someone coming from this family, she thought about the hereditary nature of schizophrenia or the possible hereditary nature of it. She wanted her daughter to be able to handle whatever is going on there better than her siblings could. Her daughter's name is Kate, and when Kate was younger, she was showing some early signs of distress. She was having major meltdowns and tantrums. She tried everything from therapy to essential oils, anything to help. She just kind of threw everything at Kate. Lindsay refused to ignore it the way that her parents did. Kate would end up thriving. She was a straight A student and she was accepted into Berkeley. She did turn it down to attend Colorado University in Boulder. This was in 2016. As an undergrad at only 18 years old, Kate became an intern for Professor Dr. Friedman in the Denver lab. She was going into pre-med for neuroscience. And Kate, I think she graduated with a psychology and neuroscience degree and is working on her master's or is done with her master's at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We're really, right there. Now, Dr. Friedman is a big deal because he has been in the background of the Galvin family's life for a long time. He was among some of the doctors that would go to the hospital, and there was a group of doctors that studied the Galvin family because of how many had schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
And they were constantly going back and forth, wondering if it was hereditary and genetic or if it was environmental. Was it the mom's fault? Was it the dad's fault? Where did this come from? Was it a mix of both?
Yeah.
So it's very full circle for Lindsay's daughter to be working under and learning under Dr. Friedman when
he had
studied their family. Yeah. I found that poetic.
Yeah.
Now, Lindsay's son, Jack, he had a tougher time. When he was in high school, he began skipping school. He was that classic skater punk guy. He's smoking weed and he's doing all the things. Lindsay puts him in a program where he spends 90 days in the wilderness. And this is where the kids have to figure out their internal life skills. And
just some of those like torture camps that, they're told, like the parents are told it's just going to be like camping. And then they're like forced to march like 45 miles in the desert without water and shit.
I don't think his was bad, but yes, what you're talking about, the ones that have become corrupt, it's under this guy's.
Okay.
He had a good one. His program is to reset these kids that are going there. Lindsay also enrolled Jack into a therapeutic boarding school in Montana. And now, I had to look this up just to see. It is so expensive, this boarding school. And the program he did for 90 days is very expensive. And everything that she did for her daughter is very expensive. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't do those things for my children if I had them and I had the money. What I'm getting at is Jack also overcomes his issues and is able to live a successful, normal, quote unquote, normal life. Kate is very successful, especially for her age. Not even for her age. She's successful, period, because of the way her mom has set them up. And the healthcare system in this country just does not allow you to be mentally ill. It doesn't help you in the way that we need it. Some people need boarding schools that are $83,000 a month for 21 months. Like, that's how much his boarding school is. $83,000 1 month. And the boarding school lasted 21 months. Like, it's amazing that she was able to do that, but I wish that help could reach more people. That's all I'm saying.
Life's a scam. Everyone's here on their own.
Ugh. But that is where everyone is. I, again, implore everyone to go to these websites that I'll put in the show notes. Lindsay's website, the art website by Margaret, also the Family Galvin Trust website. You can get a little more insight onto who the brothers are and a little more of who they are today. It's really sweet to see the smiles on their faces. And sad to see that some of them were unable to see a brighter day. But that is the end of part 2 with our Galvin family. And that's it. Yeah.
I didn't know any of that. I did not even know of the Galvin family before you started talking to me about it.
Yeah, and the book Hidden Valley Road by Robert Kolker, I know that I reference it quite a bit, but he has a whole other side to that book that talks about schizophrenia, the doctors. Sigmund Freud is referenced there a lot because he talks about schizophrenia, and of course, by Freud, it's all the mom's fault, and Friedman kind of says, anyway, I don't want to give it away. Not giving anything away, but get the book, look at the websites, buy some art, touch grass, feel good, love each other, love your neighbor. Unless you don't, then just leave them alone and live and let live.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.